What if I could share with you 5 simple steps that you could do every single morning that would help you become more successful? Would you listen? Would you like to know what it is? Well, it's not really my 5 steps, but it is my guest, Glenn Lundy, the creator of The Morning Five, as well as the host of Rise and Grind, one of the top rated online shows streaming 5 days a week at 5:30 in the morning with inspiration, education, and motivation, as well as he is the creator of Breakfast of Champions, one of the top rated rooms on Clubhouse. Thousands of people go into that room every day to receive that same inspiration, motivation, and education. And he is on a mission, but it starts with his morning routine. So let's dive into my conversation with Glenn Lundy so he can share with you the Morning Five. All right, so Glenn, let's jump right in here. Um, as I said in the pre-show, I see your life for since I've known you as 3 chapters. There's the dealership life, there is the rise and grind life, and now Breakfast of Champions and beyond. What I'm curious, because of what we try to do with this channel, is help those people when they're in charge, be it they're thrown into it or they say, I want to be in charge of this team or this project. A lot of times they're left on their own. They don't know what to do. So for you, take me back. The transition from taking responsibility as a salesperson to moving up into saying, I want to be in management. That's where I want to go. Talk to me about that journey, what you did, to help the listeners understand what they may have to do.
Yeah, sure, Glenn. And I appreciate the question. I appreciate this opportunity to spend some time with you today. So there's one other season, one other chapter that's a little bit important for this particular discussion.
Sure.
And that is that prior to my time at Dan Cummins in Paris, Kentucky, prior to that, there was a gap where I was out of automotive. And before that, I spent 7 years at a Nissan Subaru dealership where I went from salesman to general sales manager at that store. And though I grew in my position in that dealership, the dealership itself never grew. And my relationships outside were terrible, right? I ended up losing my girlfriend. I lost custody of my daughter. My life was just kind of a wreck outside of the dealership world.
Right.
And so I didn't want anything to do with automotive, like zero. And so I got out and did other things for a few years, traveled around. And then I came to Kentucky. I met my wife and I had my first daughter with my wife. And she told me to get a big boy job, Glenn. She said, dude, you have got to do something. Because at the time I was working in bars and restaurants and all that stuff.
Right.
And so the only thing I knew how to do really well was sell cars. It was the only thing I knew how to do well, but I didn't want to get back into that industry at all. And so I bit the bullet, went to a dealership in Paris, Kentucky, and I applied and I told them, Glenn, it was the best pitch I ever had. I said, man, I've been a top salesman. I've been an amazing sales manager. I've been the finance guy for years. I've been a GSM. You need me to be a leader at your store. And he looked me in the eyes and was very kind. And he said, we're not hiring any managers, but you're welcome to sell cars if you want. And so even though I had all these accolades, he wouldn't bring me in at a leadership level. I had to come in at the ground level. And at the time I was frustrated by that. And now I am so incredibly thankful for that. So I went in as a salesperson, but my mindset was, I need to prove to the owner of the dealership that I should be a leader. And the only way that I could do that is I had to literally do everything 180-degree opposite of what I had done in my previous car career, right? And so I wrote down a list, Glenn. I wrote down a list of everything that I hated as a salesperson, everything that I hated as an employee of a dealership.
Right.
And then I wrote down everything that I believed customers hated about the entire process of working with a car dealership. And once I had that list, I just determined, I just decided hey, I am going to take the lead, have the owner's best interest in mind at all times, not the GM's best interest, not the GSM's best interest, not the sales manager's best interest, not the finance guy's best interest, but the owner's best interest. And how could I shift this place to really reward the owner who's taken a chance on me? So I went in as a salesperson and hit the floor. I was the only guy, Glenn, wearing a tie. I was the only one that would wear a suit. Everyone else in there was in flannels and Carhartts and
Right, right,
shorts
right.
and all this other stuff. I showed up early. I left late. I pulled handles when I didn't have to. I did lot parties on my own just to get the activity and the energy levels up. I did all of those things, right? All of those things on top of being the top salesperson every single month. And within 4 months, I got promoted to sales manager position, and then it kind of went from there.
So let's there's a lot there, and thank you, because of that Nissan Subaru chapter I didn't realize. So when you said I did 180, and I like that, I do that when I teach leadership courses. I make them split a page down and I say, okay, on the right side, think of someone that you looked at and said, that's a great leader. Write down the things that they did that made you feel that way. And then, of course, write down the things that you hated that managers did. And I said, okay, don't do that side. Start
Right.
on this side and you'll have a better chance. So two-part question. The first one is, when you said I did a complete 180, was it that solely focusing on that and saying what's in the best interest of the customer and or the general, the owner? And then secondly, when you said that I planned it out and I did all of these things, lot parties, and there are going to be some people who are going to say, I don't want to step out of that. I just want to do what they tell me to do really, really well and wait, versus taking
Sure.
that chance. So first part is, when you said you did the 180 and you addressed it, it was that simple of writing out a plan and then attacking it. And then, as I said, the second one was, what happens when it's outside the boundaries of perceived your role?
Yeah, the list of things that I knew customers hated
Mhm.
became my roadmap to success, as far as on the customer side, and then obviously being able to make an impression on the owner, right? If you can show up out of nowhere, sell a bunch of cars, and have a bunch of happy customers, of
Right.
course you're gonna get a little attention.
Yeah.
And what was crazy, Glenn, is I got told often by sales managers, they would say, Glenn, you can't do that. Don't do that. You're going to get in trouble. Right. I remember when I first got into sales management after 4 months, as soon as I
Mhm.
got into sales management, the guy who was a sales manager at the time, I would call the bank and get deals approved because I had done that before. I knew how to do that.
Right.
So I would call the bank and I would get it approved. And I would hang up and he'd look at me and he'd say, don't do that. They don't want you to do that. It's the finance manager's job to get the deal approved. And I'd look at him and I'd say, okay, great. Thanks for letting me know. And then I'd pick up the phone and I'd call the next one and I'd get the next one approved. And fast forward 30 days, they had me fire the guy that was the sales manager sitting next to me, because I would take initiative, because I knew what matters most to the owner, right? Not
Right.
what matters most to everybody around me. You see, Glenn, I believe that we as humans have been programmed to blend, to be a part
Yes.
of the 80%, right? You've got the middle class, you have this comfort area, and you see this in the animal kingdom too, right? A lot of people don't realize that the alpha lion has the shortest lifespan. It's dangerous to be the alpha,
Sure.
right? Elephants are huge animals. They run in herds because they realize it's safer to be in the pack. Humans, when you step into that danger area, like Trump, Bezos, Zuckerberg, all these people that stand out, everybody starts poking at you, man. Everybody's after you. And so it's very easy to want to blend. And so I had to have this kind of roadmap that was like, don't do this, don't do this, don't do that. So I could remind myself every day. I would read it every day and go, these are the things I'm not going to do. And anytime somebody put me in that position to make me want to, or to try to persuade me to do those things, it was just real easy. It was like, nope, that's on my list. I cannot do that. Right.
Okay, so great point, and I love that, and I love the fact that you read it. And again, so for audience, when you have your plan, whatever your plan is, whatever your steps are, whatever, you have to read it every day. It's the only way that it's going to lock into your head to become second nature, especially when you're starting off. You know, I use the example of driving a car. When we all first started driving, we had our hands at 10 and 2 and looking at the mirrors, and we were doing the speed limit, and we were so focused. Now, you shouldn't be, but they're texting in one hand and talking to somebody, and you've mastered it in a way where you're comfortable and you don't have to mentally think, you can just react. And I think that's a skill as leaders. When you get to that point where you've ingrained it in yourself over and over and over, and practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced, then you don't have to think, you know what's next. Now I can just react. But you do have some people, I think for you in this example, it sounds like, well, I could push beyond that because I already had the confidence. I knew what I was doing. So for someone who is starting out, that new manager, and they know, and they're relying on other folks to give them, is it mastering what you know first and then reach out so you don't get distracted? You don't want to start doing something outside of the realm of what you're supposed to be doing before you master this. What would you say to someone who was new and said, well, you can do that because you have X, Y, and Z. I don't have that knowledge. So what would you recommend in that situation?
Yeah, 100%. I understand. In my initial dealership, the Nissan Subaru dealership, I
Mhm.
made moves also, right? From salesperson to finance manager to sales manager to general sales manager. And it was a little different philosophy because I didn't know what people hated about the industry, but I
Right.
still always was constantly um, performing at a super high level and going above and beyond the expectations and pushing the limits a little bit of the thinking of the people in leadership positions, but
Mhm.
letting them know that I came at them with admiration, right? So
Right.
Jason Kitts was my mentor. He was the general sales manager at the time when I started working at that dealership. And so when I was in sales, I would sell, and if I wasn't selling, I was kissing Jason's butt a little bit, right? Hey, Jason. Hey, Jason. Hey, Jason. Tell me this. Teach me
Right.
this. What are you doing there? What are you doing there? So once I figured out the sales part where I was consistent, I could rock 25, 30 cars, lead the board every time. Then I took my extra energy and effort, like what you were talking about. Once you learn to drive the car, now you might be able to take a phone call. Maybe you can eat a
Right.
banana, right, while you're driving. So once I got to the point where I could drive the car and I knew how to sell, then I started adding additional layers by really leaning in with Jason and saying, "Hey, Jason, I admire what you do, man. Can you show me some of that?" Nah, get out of here, kid. Hey, Jason, I love what you do. Can you show me more of that? Nah, get out of here, kid. Hey, Jason, can you show me what you do? I love what you're doing. Yeah, man. Here, sit down,
Right.
right? And over time, if you stay consistent and you do it kindly and you're not a pest, you can start to learn the path from these people that have gone before you. I mean, these guys have put in some hours in the industry, people that are that are typically in these leadership positions, and they're usually top performers on the sales floor at some point in time
Right.
before they move into management. So there's so much wisdom and knowledge you can extract from them, but make sure you're serving them first. I think that's the key.
Oh, that's a great point. And I like that. And I think I really think that's a lost, I don't want to say it's a skill, but an understanding for a lot of people. And I agree with you that I always call it the middle 60, right? Because I always say there's 20% coming in or going out, like they're brand new or they're going out. And you got the 20% that are just hard chargers. And it doesn't matter where you drop those people, they're hard chargers. But
Right.
that middle 60. But the point is having that skill of asking for help somewhere along the line, and I'm not sure if you've run across this. I mean, you have now, and we'll get to it in a little bit, the Breakfast of Champions, where you're talking to hundreds and thousands of people are coming through that room all the time. But this idea of asking for help, somewhere along the line, pride got in the way, or ego got in the way, or fear got in the way. It's almost as if we're embarrassed to ask for help, or we don't know how to ask for help, or ask you as a mentor, or could you show me what to do because I'd like to get there, right? And how can you help me? How can I help you first? And then how can you help me? Am I crazy in this thought, or have you run across this idea of, this idea where people just don't want to ask for help anymore?
I think that we live in a world where I don't remember the actual statistic, but we're getting asked for things all of the time in advertising, in social
Right.
media, on television. Buy this, take this course, take this, go to this place, travel to this destination, right? And so I think that we are somewhat worn out as a society of people constantly asking. And so the dynamic has changed just a little bit, and you have to be very tactful. So my favorite book of all time, How to Win Friends and Influence People, really has the roadmap of how to do this, how to engage someone, make them feel seen, heard, and
Hmm.
significant, make them feel special, right? Make them feel, um, for lack of a better word, the word obligated comes to mind, but that's not really what I mean. But if you serve people long enough, if I bring you enough cups of water, at some point you're going to feel connected with me, right?
Yes.
Frequency plus proximity equals affinity. So the more frequent our interactions, the closer in proximity of those interactions, as long as it's always positive, it increases affinity. You start to like me more, and now you'll want to serve me. So when people go in like, help me, help me, help me, it's kind of like, bro, whoa, man,
Right.
everyone's
Right.
asking me for something. Chill out. But if you come at me and you're like, let me serve you, let me serve you, let me serve you, then at some point I'm going to turn psychologically and want to reciprocate that energy that you're pouring into me.
No, I think that's great. Now, for some people who are listening, they may say, "Well, I still don't quite get that. I don't want to bother them." I think standing out in their vision can be, are you just doing your job excellently?
And that's right.
And are you coming in a little early? And are you prepared? And are you, are you helping make that managers, right? If that's where you want to get to, I want to be a manager and I'm working for you, Glenn. The question in my mind is, am I making your job easier or harder with my efforts? And if I'm making it easy where you go, I never have to worry about Glenn. He's got it buttoned up. It's done. He's always here early. I have other things. But if I'm causing stress, that's not where I want to come on your radar.
Sure.
Because then when I do ask you for help, you're making my life miserable. Now I
Right.
have to try and no, this doesn't work. Versus you are constantly, almost in a weird way, invisible of problems because you're solving things for me, and and in that way. So it doesn't have to be, well, let me bring you this, bring you that, bring you that. The mere fact that I'm not causing you stress and I'm delivering value, like you were saying, I'm bringing value to the team, I'm bringing value, that in and of itself, in that proximity of, you're always at the top. I always want to use you as an example to others of, why can't you be more? I think that then allows that door to be open, if you so choose to reach out and say, I want to go further. So let me ask you, so be way, way back, ninth grade, Glenn Lundy. Have you always been driven like this, or did something click where you were always, you know, not just outgoing, but you are truly one of the people who I've run across, that you're just always committed, like committed. Like, have you always been that way?
Man, I don't think so. I've always been a leader. I've always had the ability to lead, to gather people, to bring people together, to inspire people. Now, I used to use my powers for evil for a
Mm,
very long season of my life. Like, follow me, and then we'd all go fall off the edge of a cliff somewhere together.
right.
And so it's more recent in the last I guess 15 years of my life that I've been able to now use those powers for good. But ninth grade Glenn was a leader and a shortcut taker
Mm,
back in those days. I was very smart. My brain was very smart, but I definitely didn't like hard work. And I sometimes tease to this day, like, my hands are soft, baby. These are baby soft hands, right? I've
right.
always done all the work with kind of my mind, and so committed. Yes, but not necessarily committed to the process, right? I was committed to a result.
Right.
And as I got into my 20s, that sometimes got me into trouble because I was a shortcut guy, just focused on the result. And it wasn't until more recent, in my 30s, especially with Dan Cummins, that I realized how important it was to be committed not just to the result, but to the process. There's a reason these steps are there. There's a certain experience that needs to be delivered.
Mhm.
There's an emotional attachment required, whether it comes to leading a customer, leading a team of people, leading yourself. All of these things require steps, right? It's a marathon, not a sprint. And I think that was the biggest adjustment for me from young Glenn to older Glenn, always committed to the result, definitely a driven dude. But I hated practice in when I was younger, right? I
Right.
hated practice. And now I love practice. I'm like, look, get me on the free throw line. Let's just shoot free throws all day.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
I
yeah.
understand that those are the fundamentals that are going to make it happen, the magic happen once we get in the game.
Yeah, and I think that I resonate with that. It was very similar in that things came easy, grades came easy
Right.
without a lot of work. Or no, I didn't mind work. I worked hard. I would, I had jobs since I was 12. So working didn't bother me, but it was always just what was in front of me. It wasn't until later that I actually pushed out plans further and said,
Mm,
oh, we can go there versus, well, today we're just going to accomplish this and we do that. But what I like about what you were saying, and this is a great tip for those of you who are leading teams, whether you're experienced or not, is we tend to forget the process. The process is helps us get to the results. I always say actions cause results. If we don't get what we want somewhere along the line, the, we're doing something different. Something's not right. I don't believe anybody goes to work not to want to be successful. I don't think anybody's not doing something. Even in inactivity, you're doing something. You're sitting. That's an active. I'm just sitting here. My point is that sometimes we get wowed with our personality, and personality can't be replicated, especially if you are a personality driven leader and you think everyone can be, it's easy for you.
totally.
And that's one of the hardest things I find is some of the top performers can't teach it because they never really relied on the structure, or the structure came natural to them, where others need that. And I think that's a great lesson, is having that plan. Going back to what you were saying before, writing my list down every morning, I read this and I set myself out, and that replicated repetition allows you to get yourself started and be comfortable with your approach to the day. And I think that's a great lesson for leaders with their team, is focus on the process, focus on the actions. The personality is the dressing, the window dressing around it.
Yeah. And
Right.
I think it's also important for everyone to know and understand that if we don't stick to a process, understand a process, practice a process, be disciplined to the process, then we can't fix things when things
Hmm.
go wrong, right?
Yes.
Like there's
Yes.
10 different ways to get to an end result. And there are lots of personalities in the automotive industry, totally, right? And so you can have that dynamic person that just happens to come in and knows nothing about process, but they just wow the customers and they
Right.
sell like crazy in the first 60 to 90 days. And then they fall off. And you're like, what happened? I don't know. I'm doing the same thing. Well, what's the same thing?
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. Because there's no stinking process, right?
Right.
Whereas if we have a process, we can go back, we can diagnose, we can go, okay, you were getting results. Now you're not. What's changed? Oh, you're not making that extra phone call. You're not making that post on social media. You're not doing the greeting. You're not doing a welcoming experience for the customer as soon as they walk in the door. Like we can tweak it down to a little thing to adjust to get people back on track once the wheels do fall off, which we all know in this industry, man. And there's ups and downs, there's ebbs and flows. The wheels fall off every once in a
Yeah,
while.
and
So
it's with every industry, and I like that analogy, is when you're not generating the results. I've seen, for the times that I've gone into dealerships and other businesses to help them with their teams, most of the time people are taking that process for granted. They think they're doing it, but they've skipped a step, or they've trimmed a
Right.
step, or they've done. And so when you go back and say to them, here, can you just for the next week, just follow this word for word, or do this all, lo and behold,
That's
they're
right.
back on track and they're going, wow, it works. You take it for granted. And so that's a great lesson for everyone here. If you're not getting your results, take a step back and go, well, let me go back and read the process. Hopefully it's written down, which it should be. But if it's written
Right.
down and you go back and say, am I doing this? Go back to square one, because how many times do we see new individuals come into any company and they flourish because they don't know any different? They're
That's right.
just doing exactly what you want them to do. Say, here, do this. And they're like, okay, I'll do it. There is no, but this is my way. And I used to do this, or someone showed me a different way. And how many times have we heard, oh, we had a new person come in and they're excelling right out of the gates. It's that. So let's pivot. I want to go move to, because when you touched on this process, I'm curious. So Rise and Grind, top rated show on Facebook. I mean, it's amazing the community that you have
Thank you.
built. It's
Thank you.
amazing because it's not just preach like, oh, I'm going to tell you how to be great. It's conversations and helpful to individuals. And you've built a community of giving back. But what I'm fascinated with is that did your morning five come prior to Rise and Grind? Is that something you've always had before? Was it an outgrowth of Rise and Grind because you had to get up so early to do this and get yourself going? How did that start?
Yeah. So the morning five, once I got into Dan Cummins had another opportunity in the auto industry. At
Mhm.
that point in my life, that season, I was really into self-development. I was learning lots of stuff about different successful leaders and studying the Eric Thomases and the Les Browns and the John Maxwells and the Jim Rohns and the Tony Robbins and
Mhm.
all of those people. And then of course historically looking at the Ben Franklins and the Alexander Hamiltons and
Right.
just all of that, right? And as I studied more and more successful people, I noticed a trend. I noticed that all successful humans, super successful humans, at some point they talk about a ritual or a routine that they have every single day, something that they did every single day.
Right.
And as I dug in further, I found that pretty much every single one of them, their routines uh, tapped into mind, body, and spirit, all three, first thing in the morning, right? Mind, body, spirit, mind, body, spirit. And so I went on this journey where I tried different morning routines from different people
Mhm.
that I would read. Like I was taking cold showers and going, this is not for me, Glenn. I do not like the cold shower thing. I am a tropical person by
Right.
DNA. I am out on but I tried all these different things and ultimately a piece here, and I put it together, the morning five simple steps to an extraordinary life. And I applied them in my life and saw massive results for about 2 years every day. And it changed the dynamic with my wife, with my kids, my performance at work, my sleep, like everything shifted in those 2 years. So then I started teaching it to all of my salespeople. So I am a firm believer in, I call it corporate family values. So if we can teach our people life skills, not just job skills,
Right.
that's how we get loyal, long-term employees, right? Teach them how to be better spouses, teach them how to be better parents, teach them how to be financially smart, teach them not to stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning playing Fortnite and drinking beer when they got to be at
Exactly.
work on Saturday morning at 8 o'clock, right? And so as we were teaching them life skills, I started doing these trainings on morning routines and started teaching the morning five. And then I saw some of my staff started applying the morning five. They started getting results in their life. And so that was a good probably 4 years before Rise and Grind when I first kind of locked the routine. 2 years of my execution, 2 years of teaching, and then Rise and Grind came and it just fell in place. And I ended up writing the book and doing all that stuff once Rise and Grind kind of blew up.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So I've we'll be putting the Morning Five where you can get it. It's a free ebook. We'll put that in the show notes for everyone.
Thank
It
you.
is so worthwhile. I will tell you. I follow it not as rigorously. I've adapted a couple things, same
Sure.
thing for myself, but there is a morning routine for myself. And I've recommended it to people because one of my volunteer things that I do is I help people in job transition. So I
Mm,
speak to them and I talk to them about marketing themselves. And always recommend the Morning Five. I said it's how you start your day, and it's amazing how many people don't have a routine in the
right.
morning. It's, well, I get up, I have a cup of coffee, and I start X, and I'm going, but you haven't. One of the best things that I took from it, and I share this with them, is are you reacting to the day, or are you setting yourself up to go out and embrace the day, but on your own terms? If you flip on that phone and start, even the news, people say, oh, I do the news. I said, but now you're reacting to the news, whether you
That's
like it
right.
or not. You could love everything you said, but it's not, you're reacting to outside stimulus versus let's focus on me first, get myself prepared to go out and now I can engage, but I'm more solid in terms
That's
of
right.
how to engage with the world on my own terms versus, because social media and news, boy, that can yank you from one side to the other, good or bad. And I know the game and it still does it to me sometimes. I have to catch
Sure.
myself. I know the game and it's still, I should be doing this, and, rah, rah, and next thing you know, your brain's off in la la land. So,
That's
so
right.
where did Rise and Grind start from? I know you said I'm in the closet. I remember those early episodes, but where did the idea of a daily show come from?
Some idiot. No, I'm just kidding. Um, Actually, when I launched it as daily, I was told by my friend Hank Norman, he's like, you can't do daily. It's too much. You got to do once a week. I'm like, I'm doing daily. No. So Rise and Grind came initially from one of the things you just mentioned. You just mentioned social media, and I found myself getting very frustrated. This was when Colin Kaepernick was kneeling, right?
Mm-hmm.
He started kneeling, and there was all this to do about this guy kneeling and the back and forth and everything, right? And so when you got on social media, it was politics, it was fighting, it was division, it was violence, it was all these things, and it really was driving me nuts, like in my gut. And I finally thought about it, and I learned this, Glenn, over my years. Like, if something's really bothering you, that to me is God's way of saying, do something about it. Right.
Right.
Like, if you can just put it away and blow it off, no big deal. But if it really starts to eat at you, that's a calling. That's a calling. That's an opportunity for you to be a solution. And so it was really bothering me, all the violence and stuff online. And I was like, you know what? I can't do anything about it. Like, I can't eradicate it. But what I can do is I can create a tiny little sliver in the corner of the internet where every time you come there, because I knew how important mornings were, every time you come there, it'll be motivation, education, inspiration. That's it. You'll never get any of the other stuff in my rooms ever, 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 ever. And so I kind of created it to scratch my own itch, to create a place for me that was positive because everything else was so negative.
Right.
And on top of that, I thought about it from a marketing standpoint because I was at the dealership. I know how influential the mind is first thing in the morning. It's incredibly influential. It's consuming, consuming, consuming. And so I'm like, okay, the old radio jingle guy in me is like frequency plus proximity equals affinity. So by doing the show every day, not only could I create a space for positivity and motivation and education, but it'd be great marketing for the dealership. So I would start every day and I would make sure to tell stories about the people of the dealership. But I would start every day and I'd say, my name is Glenn Lundy. I'm a husband to, back then it was like 5. I'm a husband to 5. I'm a husband. Or a father. I'd say I'm a husband to 1, a father to 5, and the general manager at Dan Cummins Chevrolet and Buick in Paris, Kentucky, the second largest used car franchise dealership in America. It's 5:30 a.m. and I hope you're ready to rise and grind, right? And then I would tell these stories and I would weave in all these characters from the dealership. And so it became an incredible marketing tool.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, we were releasing positivity 5:30 out into the world. I had to do 5:30 because I do have so many kids, and I knew it was the only time that the kids wouldn't be
Right.
up, my wife wouldn't need anything, the dealership wouldn't need anything. So that's where the 5:30 came from. And then lastly, I really wanted to create a space where people could feel seen, heard, and significant. Glenn, I spent a little season of my life like homeless, and the worst part of homelessness is not that you don't have money. It's not that you don't have a roof over your head. It's that you become invisible. People don't make eye
Yes.
contact with you.
Yes.
Nobody says your name. It's miserable. And so I thought, well, I could at least help maybe one person by just saying their name and just being consistent and showing up. So maybe you're having a rough night and you're like, well, at least Glenn, I know Glenn's going to be there with something positive at 5:30 a.m. If I can hang on till then, and maybe he'll say my name, right? And so I used to take time every show and say every single person's name that was on the thing. Now there's too many to say.
I was going
Every
to
single
say now that
person's
your
name.
show could just be naming people. It's so many people.
I still spend 3 minutes a day though, calling out people's names. 3 minutes on every episode of
Yeah.
Rise and Grind, just to help people feel.
No, and you do that on Breakfast of Champions too, and I
Yes,
think
sir.
it's inclusive, and I think that's a wonderful way to start. And so for anyone who's listening, and I really like that when it's really bothering you, like it can't get out of your head. There's a reason it's in your head,
Right.
and it's you're not. And I like the pivot also because again, some people will give up because they say, well, I can't solve that. But what
Mhm.
can you do? The next question should be, well, what could you do? Um, Again, that's why I started this. I had, for a long time, I would train people. I've been training teams, the same to you. Like somehow I always ended up, no matter what job I had, in charge. Not
Because
even
you're
without
Glenn
a
with two
title.
ends. That's how it works with the two
It's
end
the two
Glens.
ends. You get them in, and people, I could get people to do what I needed to do because I worked with them, not told them and say, oh, you got to do this.
Right.
But I see that again, and now it's been back, running the agency for years and marketing. But my true passion is teams and building people and helping people. And it's like it was in my head going in, and I had the series, my book. It's going to be done by next year because I've been putting it off because I've been focusing on it. But I have the same ones: Corey Mosley in my corner, and Troy Spring, and Dan Moore, and a few of these other guys who would just say, "Glenn, shut up." Do it. Like, I'm tired of
Right.
hearing you say you want to do it. Just do it. And so finally over pandemic, I did it. But that is that gnawing thing because yeah, I can't solve everything. But the other day I helped somebody just took over a clubhouse room. Somebody asked, and I helped them with a training thing. And they were like, oh my God, like that's great. So there is small things you can control your
That's right.
area. You can help those in you may not solve everything, but you don't know where the stone goes, that ripple effect of just the mere fact that you called out someone's name, they had a better day. Maybe you
Right.
saved them from something stupid, I
Right.
mean, you don't know. And, we were talking about this, who was I on with, Fred Lenartz and Lou Ramirez the other day. They were
Yeah.
talking about, referrals. Well, if I do something and help you out, I'm not expecting anything back. What happens is I don't know how you interact with someone else and someone else and someone else and mention me. And that person comes around and interacts with me, but I don't know you were. I just helped you. So I
Right.
think that's a really great example of how having just a thought and starting small and creating something, in this case, positive to counter the negative, look where it's grown. I mean, that's just,
Yeah.
and the consistency of it, I think, is really key. And that goes back to what we're talking about in leading teams. It's that consistency of your approach, consistency of your process. That's something that people can rely on
That's right.
versus what's it going to be today, Glenn? And every day it's something different. You lose
Right.
people versus no, Glenn's dependable. He's there. The process is dependable. That breeds success.
I agree 1,000%. And nowadays, we need we need people we can trust, and people that are reliable now more than ever.
Yes.
In a world of filters and fakes and phonies and camera editing and all the different things and politicking and so on and so forth, we don't know what's real or authentic anymore. Like,
Mm-mm.
it's crazy. I've seen them take people's lips and put them on somebody else and make people
Sure.
say things they've never said, and it looks crazy real, right? And so people are really starving for that person or those people in their lives that they can count on, that they know they're going to be there, they know that exactly what they're going to get. I think it's just extra important right now, and there's lots of opportunities for leaders, those that are looking to lead or looking to step up. There's lots of opportunities for that because so many people are looking for a trusted advisor, a trusted
Mm-hmm.
mentor, trusted counsel. It's just very, very difficult to find in today's day and age.
Well, to your point, and I think this is, again, I like stopping sometimes and saying, okay, let's pull over to the side of the road here and focus on this. I think what you said could be glossed over by someone listening to this is the fact that you as a leader, your team is not your team is looking for, yes, they need you to do your job, and part of that is looking down the road. But what they're really looking for from you is consistency of approach. And they're looking for that dependability of, when I come in, we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. Everyone's doing what we're supposed to be doing, versus you're just off and train,
Right.
you're off trying something new is one thing, but not having that plan is disconcerting. And I think that's one of the keys. It's that idea of consistency and dependability, so that they can feel safe doing their job
Hmm.
100%. And if they fall, you're there to pick them up, not bash them. Or you're not even there when they look around and need you, you're gone somewhere. So I really wanted to hone in on that, because I think it was a really, really great point you made about that dependability and trustworthiness of belief that you're there for me so that
Right.
I can do my job.
That's it, man. That's where it's at. And I think it's not
Yeah.
just at work, right? Your relationships, your
No,
spouses are
yeah.
looking for that. Your kids are looking for that. Everybody needs that. So
Yeah. And you need that. See, that's the other thing, is that we all are, I always say, we're all on somebody's team. Right. So
right,
if you get promoted to GSM, well, guess what? Now you're on the general manager's team. And then when you're a
right,
general manager, you're on the dealer's team, right? So even if you're on a deal, you're a dealer, you're in a 20 group, or you're in your 800% club, like, you're on that
right,
team. And there's
right.
always accountability up the chain. So understand that once, yes, there are people below you looking to you for help,
Yeah,
for guidance.
no
At the
doubt.
same moment in time, you need to have that team. You need to have those people that you can depend on. Those 5 people that are on your phone, and when you need something, or you need good counsel, or you need a kick in the ass, like, they're going to be there. Everyone needs that, or else you get lost, and then
Yeah,
you can't be valuable to your team if you're lost.
that's right. And Glenn, that's where the morning routines come back into play.
Mhm.
That morning routine, if you're consistently spending some time, mind, body, and spirit, creating that solid foundation, then you become a more well-rounded, adjusted,
Right.
consistent individual, because you're not waking up and going straight into violence and chaos and politics. You're not getting yanked around. You're not going into the emails, the notifications, the text messages. You're not dealing with bad reviews and all the other things.
Sure.
You're starting your day. You're starting it positive, gratitude, goals, writing those things down, setting your mind up, right? So you're digging those roots deep, man. So when the storms come, you're ready, you're braced. Like,
Right.
you can be consistent in all the things, and people love that. People thrive in
Oh,
those environments.
I think so. So let's. I would be remiss if we don't talk about Breakfast of Champions, which has
Oh,
been
Breakfast
this
with Champions. What's that? What's that?
phenomenon that has just dominated Clubhouse. Um, I've been with Breakfast of Champions in and out, depending, because my morning routine, same thing, is I'm listening, and then all of a sudden the kids need me, and I can't have headphones in while I'm
Sure,
listening, right?
sure.
But So again, you saw an opportunity, you had a plan, you did this, you gathered a circle of friends, I'm assuming, to get it. I was in some of those early conversations. Talk to me about why. What was that need? Because, or was it just an extension of Rise and Grind into a new platform?
Yeah, the mission hasn't changed, right? Like
Mm,
even when I go in with 800% Club with my dealers, one of the most successful components that we had over at Dan Cummins, like it's all the same theory. If you change the way you start your day, it'll make a massive impact in your life. And so we changed the way we started at the dealership. We had a lot of success. I
right.
help other dealerships change the way they start. They get a lot of success. Rise and Grind changed the way I start my day and others, and they've had success. So with Breakfast with Champions, I was on Clubhouse. Someone invited me. I was on there late December, and it was a Saturday. And I just was like, here's another opportunity for us to extend motivation, education, and inspiration and help
Right.
people change the way they start their day. So it was much bigger because we had to go long form. My show's 30 minutes. Breakfast with Champions is 6 hours. And
Yeah, I
so,
think it started at 5, then it went 6, then it was Monday to Friday, then Saturdays got thrown in. Now you have a
yeah,
Sunday service. I mean,
yeah.
it's
Exactly.
crazy.
Exactly. But it's on this one I really had to collaborate. I had to grab some of the people that I've done events with and things like that
Hmm.
before and say, hey, here we have an opportunity. But I knew, Glenn, it's so crazy. I sent an email before we opened the first room. I said, we're going to dominate the mornings on Clubhouse because I've seen it work for the
Sure.
last 3 years with Rise and Grind, for the 4 years before that with Dan Cummins. Like, it goes back to the process. The process works no matter what environment you put it in. The process works. And so I didn't know it would work at this level. Like I didn't expect all of this, don't get me wrong, but I knew that we could make an impact in other people's lives if we started early enough, kept the environment, motivation, education, inspiration, no matter what, protected our barriers and our walls to create a safe place for people to come.
Hmm.
I knew that we'd be able to make an impact, and we have, man. It's been crazy.
No, I agree. And I've shared this story with others. I didn't get a chance to share it with you, but one of the things that um, really made me admire you and real my like respect level, like I saw you and we've run across each other at conferences and we've
Sure.
talked a little bit. But I remember early on, I think I want to say it was in January-ish. It was a Sunday because I was taking my son to his basketball coach, and you had asked people, hey, I want to have a room that day because it wasn't Breakfast of Champions. So could we get together and talk about, you did it for a couple weeks and he was like, what's good, what's bad? Because those first early rooms, those 5 hours, one, it was all on your back or a few other people, but it just seemed very disorganized and there was no
Sure.
theme. But and again, great lesson for everyone is you asked for help and
Oh yeah.
you didn't challenge anyone and said, no, this is my vision. You said, what do you think? And I remember I said, well, maybe we breaking it up by like hours. And I think someone else said, well, like the Today Show, like, or you love the Today Show. You were like Today Show. And somebody said, yeah, well, those each hour is either a person hosts something or it's a theme or this half an
Right.
hour. I said, and I remember saying, I think that would be easier for people, one, to consume. Number two, it's easier to advertise to say, well, like now you have certain people at 7 o'clock on these 2 days, they're there.
Hmm.
So if somebody wants to hear them, they know what time, right? The first hour is this, the second hour is this, third hour is this. I don't want to miss that, or Thursday, right? It's easier to advertise. But what was really admirable is here's someone who is successful, right? You had success with the Rise and Grind. You were doing all of this great work, but yet you still reached out to people and said, all right, I see it. It's clunky right now.
Right.
How can we make it better? And, I share that and use you as an example when I'm teaching because most people would assume, well, he doesn't have to ask. He knows it all versus the reason why people are successful is They constantly are asking to either reaffirm where they're going or get another set of viewpoints or whatever it is. So again, that was just such a masterful day and a fun day,
Yeah.
because everybody who participated, I think if we could get all of those people back together again, they would say, Glenn took one of my ideas. Right.
I'm
And it
glad to
was
hear
just,
that.
yeah, but it was a great lesson, because your humility coupled with your drive, that's powerful.
Thanks, man. Thank you. And I think that part goes back to the young Glenn you were talking about, the shortcuts, right? I'm okay with a shortcut when it comes to asking other people that are doing the things,
Mm-hmm.
or people that have reached certain levels that have had success. Like, I'm like, bro, give me the cheat code, man. Like, I don't want to fumble through all this stuff.
Right, but
Uh,
that's not, see, to me, that's not a shortcut. That's smart. That's what Tony Robbins would call modeling behavior. If somebody already banged their head 10 times and
right,
says, okay, duck this way, why would I go, oh no, I need to bang my head 10 times? No, go
right,
this way. You're still going to stumble down further. You're going to hit your own head on a different place. But if somebody's already done things and can save you time, that's great. Use it. If you're almost foolish if you don't. It's
agreed.
when your pride gets in the way and says, no, I have to do it on my own. Okay, well, guess what? It's going to take you longer, and you may never get to where you were supposed to get to because you let pride get in the way of asking for help.
No doubt, man. I am definitely a smarter human when I'm in a room with smarter humans.
Sure. Well, that's that old joke. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And
No doubt.
yeah, and sitting in the audience, and you've been kind to bring me up and allow me to speak at times, and it's just fun to listen, because you have people from different industries, different viewpoints, different lives, different stages of life. Just it's such a wealth of knowledge. The key always is that I walk away from listening to that, because I know how to take those notes and go, okay, let's build a plan. My fear
Right.
is people sit there, and hence I like, when I'm doing interviews or talking with people, is give them tactical things to go, okay,
Sure.
here, got to write down, because that sugar high of inspiration wears off.
No doubt.
And then you're going, well, now what do I do with this? And that's why, as I said, I started this because I saw that lack. Someone will bring a trainer into a dealership or train. I was in the chair in some companies, and they bring this person in and pump, pump, pump. Yeah. And then
Oh
you
yeah.
walk out and go, I have no idea what to do with that. And you just went back to doing what you were doing anyway, and
Right.
nothing changed.
Right.
So I hear through the grapevine, Breakfast of Champions becoming a podcast.
Yeah.
How is that in a 5 or 6 hour show going to go? Is it you're chunking different sections into episodes, or just releasing the whole thing? How is that
Yeah.
going to be in podcast format?
It'll be 5 hours of daily content, from Monday through Saturday. So it'll be a long form podcast, but it'll be time stamped along the way. So if there's certain
Great.
guests you want to go
Okay.
in and check out, you'll know at at 90 minutes in, it's this person speaking. At 2 hours in, it's this person. We had this guest interviewed at this time, so on and so forth. So it'll be time stamped. But yeah, it's gonna go up every day, man. Every day, 5 hours of content. We're gonna flood the podcast world, and we'll see what happens. Maybe people
No, I
listen to it,
think,
maybe they don't.
listen, the content's great. The content's great. Yeah, my thing was, when I heard it or saw it, my brain was going, 5 hours, it's a lot. My brain went to, ooh, I wonder how you could chop it up and have more episodes, and then, ooh, even more. Or you bundle them up and say, or sub channels. And that's where my brain started going. But I was like, let's just
Sure.
get it out and see where it goes right now. But I
Yeah, we'll
think
just
it's,
see what happens,
yeah,
right?
see what happens.
Test, baby, test. Take
So,
chances. I do want to
so
say this though. You
yeah,
had
go ahead.
mentioned about being the smartest person in the room. I wanted to go back to that real fast, because that's why I'm going to your event next week. Like, I am not a dealer. I I'm not selling anything. I'm not speaking at your event, but I just want to be in the room and learn, because it's so powerful. So another
Right.
quick tip to those of you that are listening in the industry: get in the room, man. Get in the room with the other people. Know your stuff. Become an expert in this industry. If you're going to make a career out of it, be a freaking expert. It's the most incredible industry in the world. When you're a leader, when you're a thought leader in this industry, all the doors open up, man. The red carpet rolls out. Like, it's amazing. So get in the rooms, invest in yourself, spend a little money, travel across the country if you got
Yeah.
to, and get in those rooms. So I just wanted to point that out
No,
there. I'm
I think
excited about
that
your event next week.
I appreciate that. Appreciate that. So, man, I could talk with you for hours. I think we have a lot in
I
similarities,
think
not
so
just our
too.
name. I look forward to continuing to grow this relationship. I think there's a lot of things we can do. So, all right. So, at the end of every episode, as we wind down, I throw 5 random questions out, have nothing to do with anything. It's sort of
Got
the
it.
rapid fire behind the mic. First thing that comes to mind. So the first question I say would be is what is your favorite cheat food? Like what's the one thing that you're just like, ooh, gotta have it?
Dude, a bowl of cereal, like real cereal, like Fruit Loops, Tricks, Cocoa
So
Pebbles.
you're a
Like,
kid, you're kid cereal.
give me a bowl of kids cereal at 10:30 at night, right before I go to bed. That's my favorite cheat of all times.
Oh, I love that. What was your favorite cartoon as a kid?
Ooh, probably have to go with Thundercats, man. I was a big Thundercats fan. Something about that.
Um, what's a movie or a show that when you run across it on TV, you always stop and watch it?
The Sandlot, dude. You got to watch The Sandlot
Love The
every single
Sandlot.
time, no
You're
matter
killing
where
me,
it's at
Small.
in the movie. You have to watch it.
What are you reading or listening to right now that other people should know about?
Yeah, right now I'm listening to Jim Quick. Limitless is the book that I'm listening to right now. Super, super powerful. Gives you a lot of memory hacks and how to read faster so you can consume more content. It really makes you stretch your imagination on how far we can actually go as human beings. So Jim Quick, Limitless, incredible book.
A creed or a motto that you live by?
I am on a mission to eradicate the negative stigmas associated with the car business. I can do this by making people feel special, feel important, and feel like they're the only one. I will offer an experience that will exceed my customers' expectations today, tomorrow, and in the future. I don't just sell cars, I create fans.
Love that. And there is a whole I'm excited for the next 10 years because there is a crew of young, impassioned people. You had a few of them at your own 4th of July, the Paul Daly's, the Kyle
Yeah, man.
Monsiers, and a few other ones who are just out to change that. So it is in safe hands in your age bracket. There's a lot of
Hey,
great
thank you.
folks there.
Thank you.
I think that's going to be good. So Adam, we've talked about so much today and you've been very kind with sharing your heart and your wisdom. If there was one thing that you wanted people to walk away with through our conversation, what's that one thing?
I want them to write down the word lead on a piece of paper up top to bottom instead of across the top. And you're going to go LEADD. Okay. LEADD. Now, there may be some people listening right now that are like, I thought this guy was pretty smart. He just spelled lead with 2 D's.
All well, right. He has 2 N's in his name. So
that's right. I got 2 N's in my name. So it works, right? So you're going to put lead down the left-hand side. Next to the word L, I want you to write the word listen. Then next to the word E, I want you to write the word encourage. Next to the letter A, I want you to write the word advise. Next to the letter D, I want you to write the word develop. And then after the second D, you're going to write the word daily. So this to me is what true leadership looks like. We listen first. 2 ears, 1 mouth. I'm sure your mom told you that at some point in your life, right?
Yeah.
You should listen twice as much as you speak. So a great leader will listen first and listen with the intent to encourage, which is your E in lead. Don't listen to defend. Don't listen to object. Don't listen to overcome. Don't listen to solve. Listen to encourage. So after we've listened to someone, the best thing we can do is we can encourage. We can say, "Hey, Glenn, I really enjoyed being on your podcast today, man. You got a great backdrop there. You ask great questions. We have great conversations that I've never had on any other podcast. I really appreciate that." Right. So we edify that person that we're looking to lead or that's looking to us for any type of guidance. So listen, encourage. Now, once you've done those two things, you've listened, you've encouraged, you've now earned the right to advise. And I say that, I stress that word earned because there are a lot of managers, I don't call them leaders. There's a lot of managers out there that go straight to advise. They
Yes.
don't listen, they don't encourage, they just go straight to advise. Here's what you need to do, get out there and go do it. There, I smack you on the butt and send you on your way, right? Like that is one of the biggest mistakes a leader can make, is thinking that it's your job to walk into a room and tell people what to do and then walk out, right? That's not it. You listen to your people, you encourage your people, then you've earned the right to advise. And at this point, if we advise, that person will listen to you. I promise. They will listen, they will take it in, and they will move and they will take action. Now, after we advise, now we have to make sure we are committed to develop. Please do not tell people what to do and not take the time to show them how to do it. It's the worst thing you can do as a leader. Go out there and do the thing. I don't know how, right? But I'm afraid to ask you, like Glenn was talking about earlier, because I'm afraid for whatever reason. I'm insecure, I'm fearful. And so make sure, if I'm going to advise, if I'm going to say, hey, I really think that this is what you should be doing, I'm going to take the time to develop that skill with you. I'm going to show you how to do it, no matter how long that takes. And then the last D, of course, is daily. This is not once a week on Saturdays. We don't just listen, encourage, advise, and develop on a Saturday morning sales meeting and then go back to doing whatever we do all week long. You do it every single day. Listen, encourage, advise, and develop. Do it with your people. Do it with your spouse. Do it with your kids. If you go into every conversation with that intention to listen, encourage, advise, and develop, you'll become an incredible leader in no time.
I love that. That is, you all better be writing that down. I'm telling you right now, replay that, put that on a loop, make that your ringtone, folks. That's fantastic. All right. So
Thank
how
you.
does everyone, I mean, I could say, how do you find Glenn Lundy? But what is your, if somebody wanted to connect with you, what's the best place? Because you're pretty much, I don't want to say everywhere, but you have your homes. Where can people reach out and connect with you?
Yeah, I really love sending people to themorning5.com. The first thing that you can do is download that ebook, read it, take you less than an hour. It tells you a lot about me because it's got my story in there. And then it also gives those 5 practical application steps. I like all the relationships to start there because I do believe if you change the way you start your day, it'll make a massive impact in your life. And once you do that, it'll connect you to all my other socials at
There
that
you
point.
go. And again, it's the morning 5, the number 5.
That's right.
.com, right? So
That's right.
themorning5.com. So as I said, I've had everybody who I've recommended it to has thanked me for recommending it to them. It has
That's
helped
awesome.
them. So again,
I didn't even
let,
know you were doing that, man. That's amazing. Thank
no,
you so much.
listen, it helped me. And so it was very useful when I was helping those individuals who are, in job transition. The hard thing is when your sole job is looking for a job,
Right.
that can be daunting. But if you start your day well, now you're ready to plan out your day and say, here's what I need to do versus diving in and going into that loop. So it definitely helped them as well. So again, so listen, Glenn, I appreciate your time today. I am so happy for you. I really, really am happy for all your success because what it has shown others, those who watched, myself watching you and others, is that when you have a plan and you work your plan and you work your plan daily and commit to it and put in the work, good things happen if you are humble and you move through the world, as you said, listening and encouraging and advising. And when you move through the world that way, with that, hey, I'm here to help you, it does come back to you. It's proven. People can watch and look. So again, I'm just so happy for your success. I wish you nothing but the best. I hope continue. As I said, I have a great seat watching you where you go, because I think there's so much more. I don't even think you're started yet. I think the impact you can have out there is just, you're just scratching the surface. Either you don't know what to do with it yet. I'm not sure other people know what to do with it yet, but trust me, I just have a feeling that you're in the right place at the right time, and things are going to be going pretty fast, pretty soon, pretty big. And I'm happy for you. So I wish you nothing but continued success with all that you do. So
you're super kind, man. Thank you so much.
Man, this is great. So again, all right. So everyone watching, if you've made it this far, hopefully you're listening through multiple times again. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We have conversations like this. The point of this channel, as I said, is to help those and have conversations that spark change. That's really what this is about. Get you thinking, get you acting in a way that you can move yourself forward to start achieving the goals that you want to do. Please make sure you share it out. Don't forget to throw comments in. Let me know what you like, what you didn't like. If there's someone or a topic you want to talk about, we will get it going. We will do that as always. And as I say at the end of every episode, you're in charge, but now Glenn has given you a few more tools to help you become more successful and live the life that you want to. So again, thank you for your attention. It means the world to me. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Thanks again, Glenn.
Hey, thank you.